Yes, yes. Which one did you like more? Did you like Richard Cory more or Miniver Cheevy more?
Richard Cory.
Richard Cory is probably the one that you like the most, not because of what happens to him, because that's pretty sad, right? Pretty tragic, but I would imagine probably because it was totally unexpected, right? Kind of reminds me of those stories that we read by Kate Chopin that also have that kind of like ironic twist at the end. So we seem to be getting a lot of that here recently. So just a couple of reminders. And there are a couple of things that are in the bio that we really didn't get a chance to talk about a lot. We do know that he writes psychological realism, okay? And I think I even had you write that down, and I just realized it's like typed right there for you, so you got it a couple of places. But again, he's very concerned with like the difference between how people view themselves and how they are viewed by others. And really, I think the poem that best exemplifies this is Richard Cory, because how do those people view Richard Cory? Like a king. Ooh, Alonzo, did I mark you absent? I don't think I did. I think you're good. I think I thought you were here. Okay, weird. Grab the bio back there, by the way, okay? So, yeah, they think he's kingly, you know? Even otherworldly. There are hints that they see him as more than human. Alonzo, we are on E.A. Robinson, which y'all did last week, Wednesday, okay? And Emery, ooh, I did mark you absent. Did you check in?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so anyway, there's that. And then highlight this line. It's the third from the bottom. He spoke the truth about loneliness and quiet desperation. I feel like we're going to be looking at a lot of characters over the next month or so that we've got left in school that are living lives of quiet desperation. That is kind of, you know, part of what we're getting into, especially in the 20th century. So we've got E.A. Robinson, who was writing primarily out of the 1920s. And we also start Gatsby today, which is written in and about the 1920s. So it all kind of ties together, all right? So, what?
Is it anything like the movie?
Gatsby? I mean, there are definitely some changes. We are going to watch the movie as
Which
we...
one?
Why? What?
Which movie? Isn't there a really old one too?
There is. I like the new one. I just think the new one's kind of cool. I like the fact that they bring in the newer music and apply it to the time. Yeah, he's a great Gatsby. Ooh, I just said the Great Gatsby, didn't I? He is a great Gatsby. That's what I meant, okay? Now don't just watch the movie, Braden. I can see the little...
I've seen it already.
I can see the little wheels spinning in your mind right now. They do make a lot of changes, so you gotta be careful about that kind of stuff. What?
I want to read it because my brother said it's the only good book he read this.
Y'all just, like, my little heart my little heart just breaks every time y'all say something like that. All right, anyway, I'm gonna get over it. Richard Cory, you take stanza 1, Megan stanza 2, Amelia stanza 3, and Mitchell stanza 4. Got it? Okay, start us off, Braden.
Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from soul to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim.
And he was always quietly arrayed, and he was always human when he talked, but he still fluttered pulses when he said, "Good morning," and he glittered when he walked.
And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought that he was everything, to make us wish that we were in his place.
So long we worked and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home, put a bullet through his head.
Wow. Okay, so that ending is this great example of understatement. Jot that down, guys. Understatement. So we find out that he commits suicide, okay? But it's not told to us in some kind of big dramatic way. It's just very even and matter of fact, right? Purposely using understatement to actually add impact, right? Plus, what is the night like that he goes home and does this?
Calm.
Yeah, calm summer night, right? So it's like, okay, one of those nights that we really look forward to. A pleasant, calm summer night. There's not any kind of external pressure that seems to be working on him. Whatever it is that has gotten him to this point is not coming from an external force. It is what?
Internal.
It's internal, it's within, right? And that all kind of works with that understatement. Such a surprise, right? So a couple of things. Look at the opening stanza. By the way, is there a set rhyme scheme to this? Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing I meant to mention. With E.A. Robinson, he's writing at the, kind of the end of the 1900s into the early 20th century. No, scratch that. End of the 1800s into the beginning of the 20th century. His form is very old-fashioned, but the topics are very modern. Okay, so that's something to kind of keep in mind as well. So whenever Richard Cory went downtown, highlight this line, we people on the pavement looked at him. So who's the speaker of the poem?
Someone on the pavement.
Yeah, us. I mean, we people on the pavement. Those people who are really not us, I guess, but those people in the town that looked up to him. And that's emphasized by the fact that they're on the pavement, right? They're low. They see themselves as lower than him. He was a gentleman from soul to crown, clean favored, and imperially slim. So you get all these references to what in those lines? Yeah, to a king, to royalty, right? So he is not just human, he's like royalty. He was always quietly arrayed. What do you think that means, quietly arrayed? Did y'all look that up?
Classically dressed.
Yeah, he's like classically dressed. In other words, he's not super showy. Okay? I love this line, highlight it, and he was always human when he talked. So let me ask you guys this. Why emphasize he was always human when he talked? I mean, of course he would be.
Because they see him as some high-up person that he's just.
Yeah, right. It's almost like if you were to meet a celebrity, right? And they ended up talking to you just like everybody else, right? So they're surprised. They're taken aback that he's kind of normal. He's human when he talked, right? Still, he fluttered pulses when he said good morning, and he glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace, and fine, we thought that he was everything to make us wish we were in his place. So they what? They envy him, right? So on we worked and waited for the light. So what's the light?
Morning.
It could be morning. Could be a lot of things. So on we worked and waited for the light. If your day is like filled with work, and your weeks are filled with work, and your months and your years are filled with work, I mean, the light could be some kind of just break or relief, right? We don't know. I mean, it could be a lot of things. It's good though. It's what they wait for. Went without the meat and cursed the bread. Why would these people go without the meat?
Expensive.
It's expensive. It's expensive. And curse the bread. Now, I personally love bread. You give me like a hot buttered roll or like, a couple of pieces of steak, I'm gonna take the hot buttered roll. I love bread. But if it's the only thing you ever get to eat because it's inexpensive, you would what?
It's hard to.
Yeah, you'd get tired of it. So they are common. They curse the bread because it's all they have, right? And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. So you got this incredible twist at the end because everybody wanted to be him. It wasn't just that they admired him, they wished that they were him when he really didn't want to be himself. It's pretty incredible. Okay? Just kind of reminding us that we never know what people are carrying around with them. Right? And that's something that I think is a lesson that's important in today's time as it was 100 years ago, because this would have been written in the 1920s. Okay. All right, Miniver Cheevy. So Miniver Cheevy, he liked to name his poems by the character name. Now, Mr. Flood's Party is a little bit different, but Miniver Cheevy, if you think about the name, I've had kids point out that Miniver Cheevy almost sounds like minimal achievement. Is that done on purpose? Honestly, I don't know. But we have a character who seems to have some problems. We'll talk about that in a second, okay? All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stanzas. All right, Anna Kate, stanza 1. Emery, stanza 2. Let's see. Emily M, stanza 3. Aaliyah, stanza 4. All right, Mary, you've been volunteered. Your stanza 5. Gracie 6, John 7, and Grayson 8. Got it? Okay, cool. All right, y'all read for me.
Miniver Cheevy, child of scorn, grew lean while he assailed the seasons. He loved that he was ever born, and he had reasons.
Miniver loved the days of old, when swords were bright and steeds were prancing. The vision of a warrior bold would set him dancing.
Miniver sighed for what was not, and dreamed, and rested from his labors. He dreamed of Thebes and Camelot, and Priam's neighbors.
Miniver mourned for a renown.
Mm-hmm.
That made so many and named so fragrant. He mourned romance now on the town, and art of it.
Miniver loved the Medici, albeit he had never seen one. He would have sinned incessantly and could have been one.
Okay, I'm not sure whose this one
I
is.
think it's me.
Okay.
Okay. Miniver cursed the commonplace and eyed a khaki suit with loathing. He missed the medieval grace of iron clothing.
Never scorned the gold he sought, but a sore annoyed he was without it. Never thought about it.
Miniver Cheevy, born too late, scratched his head and kept on thinking. Miniver coughed and called it fate and kept on drinking.
Okay. So if you kind of felt that some of this was humorous, it's supposed to be. Okay. We've got a speaker who is really kind of poking fun at Miniver, because Miniver's got some issues. What is his primary problem? You know, he drinks, but I don't know. I think the drinking may be more of a symptom.
He wept that he was born.
Yeah, he wept that he was ever born, because he really regrets being born when? In the present time. So Miniver is a romantic. Might want to jot that down. Miniver is a romantic, but E.A. Robinson, our poet, is what? He's a realist. So once again, we have this kind of idea where the realist pokes fun at the romantic. So what does Miniver Cheevy do all day?
Drinks.
He drinks, but what else? Say it again. He dwells in the past. He reads these old books. He wishes that what? Yeah, wishes he was born in a different time. Okay, so he's not doing anything. He thought, and he thought, and he thought, and he thought about it, right? Okay, Miniver Cheevy, child of scorn, grew lean while he assailed the seasons. Assailed means to like face, take on. He wept that he was ever born, and he had reasons. This is like, the tone is kind of light here. He wept that he was ever born, and he had reasons. I mean, we've got a speaker that's poking fun at Miniver Cheevy, okay? Miniver loved the days of old when swords were bright and steeds were prancing. What's a steed?
Horse.
A horse, good. The vision of a warrior bold would set him dancing, which doesn't make a lot of sense because warriors back in medieval times, they were tough. So the idea of that to set him dancing would just be kind of silly. Miniver sighed for what was not and dreamed and rested from his labors. Highlight that line. He dreamed and rested from his labors. Has he actually labored?
No.
No, he has not. Dreamed of Thebes and Camelot and Priam's neighbors. And Thebes and Camelot and Priam, those are all old civilizations, right? Old towns. And we know probably the one that's the most famous is Camelot. Who is associated with Camelot? Do y'all know? King Arthur. Yeah, and the Knights of the Round Table. Y'all heard that, haven't you? Yeah. Miniver mourned the ripe renown that made so many a name so fragrant. Highlight this, y'all. He mourned romance, now on the town, and art, a vagrant. So what's he got going on with romance and art in that stanza? He does capitalize them, by the way. I mean, romance and art are definitely ideas. They are also, well, they're things as well. But here, when he says romance is on the town, what that means, guys, and you might want to jot this down, what that means is that romance is taking money. Romance is like the equivalent of today being on welfare. Okay, and what is a vagrant? Who is a vagrant? Homeless. Yeah, and he says art is homeless. So what's he doing with romance and art? What's the word that we're using here to show that he's... Yes, good. Write that down. He's personifying romance and art. And he's basically saying that romance and art no longer have a place in his time, his society. One is on the dole, like on welfare, and one is homeless. So he's sad for that. Now, it's not true. He's just kind of having a pity party, right? Miniver loved the Medici, albeit he'd never seen one. Who are the Medici? Did y'all study them in world history last year? What do you know about them? Emily, do you remember?
They were a rich banking family.
Yes, they were the rich Italian banking family that basically lived in Florence, and they were very much tied to the Vatican and had lots of power. They were also known to be like really manipulative and cruel, and in some cases quite evil. Okay, although the people in Florence loved them, by the way, which is kind of odd. But he's like, I would have been the best, right? I would have sinned incessantly. Incessantly means like without stop, right? Had I been born a Medici, which is kind of funny because, you know, he's wishing that he'd been able to sin like that, okay? Miniver cursed the commonplace and eyed a khaki suit with loathing. Khaki because it's ordinary. He wants the fancy clothes. And highlight these lines. He missed the medieval grace of iron clothing. Now, does he have any real idea of what it was like to live back in the medieval time? Not at all. Because what do you know about iron clothing? What's he talking about when he says iron clothing? Armor. Is armor graceful?
No.
Have y'all ever been to like a Renaissance fair, or you've seen someone, you know, put on the battle armor to joust? I mean, it's clunky and heavy, and it is not graceful. So you get the idea that Miniver, he's romanticized the past, y'all. Might want to jot that down. He thinks the past was glorious when, in fact, if you lived in the past, it was pretty brutal. Do you think he would have been equipped to actually live in the past? Do you think he would have made it? Probably not. Okay? Miniver scorned the gold he sought, but sore annoyed he was without it. Highlight this. Miniver thought and thought and thought and thought about it. What do all of those thoughts, well, I think there's like 4 of them, right? What does that emphasize? What's he not doing?
What?
He's not acting. So this is like a comment on how silly it is to be inactive, right? To like, you know, let the world pass you by because you think you're ill-equipped for it, or you were suited to a different time. You've romanticized the past, perhaps. That's just silly. You just got to wake up and live your life, right? Miniver Cheedy, born too late, scratched his head and kept on thinking. He coughed and called it fate, circled fate, and kept on drinking. So Miniver thinks it's his fate that he was born out of the time period that he wished he had lived in. But probably really what's going on is Miniver just needs to stop thinking and obsessing and actually like get out there and live. Okay? Does that make sense? So both of these poems are very much about like the inner life, the psychology of these two characters. Now we're going to save Mr. Flood's party for tomorrow. And on Friday, you guys read Edgar Lee Masters, but we'll talk about him tomorrow as well. Okay, right now, I want you to get out that bio that you picked up in the back. Emery, did you grab one there on the back table? Okay. Get the bio, and if you had to borrow my E.A. Robinson, yeah, go put that back so I can use those for anybody else that might have left theirs at home today. All right, so Fitzgerald, yeah, just go. You're pretty close. Fitzgerald is huge. Very, 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 very important. He's one of those American authors that a lot of people feel like he's the best that we've had, okay? I think he's pretty awesome. I don't know if he's my favorite. I love him, but I also really like Hemingway, and I've got a lot of favorites. But I need y'all to read through the bio. There's obviously a lot of it, okay? And highlight things that stand out to you, and that's how we'll start our discussion, okay? Do that now.